Welcome back. Here we are on the 24th episode of my advanced English lessons. And I want to start out by wishing you a happy Songkran. That's the Thai New Year. And that is what spawned the creation of this lesson. So let's get to it. I'm going to ask you about the words in red here and what they mean. So let's just go ahead and read this, and then I'll ask you some questions. Songkran, the Thai New Year, is a vibrant festival celebrated from April 13th to 15th, marking the beginning of the traditional Thai solar calendar. Rooted in ancient customs, Songkran signifies purification and the washing away of sins and bad luck, ushering in a period of renewal and hope. Now, I go through all of those words in red and ask about them, but I have some specific activities. I like to focus on the word vibrant. If you just click it in to Google Translate and see what it means, it may or may not have the exact same definition and what it can describe, right? Vibrant is an adjective. We can say vibrantly is an adverb, can describe how something is done, and you can have vibrance. And really, it only needs to meet one of these requirements, that it's colorful, full of life, or energetic, or all of them, or two of them. And so here's some examples, just to get a mental picture and feel, what does vibrant mean? To have vibrance, to do something vibrantly. So fireworks, definitely, I would say fireworks are vibrant. And let me see if I can, do I get a, all right, never mind. A bare winter tree. I'm going to say no, right? Because fireworks, they could be colorful and energetic kind of feeling, really. And bare winter tree, not really, right? It's not full of life. It's alive, but it doesn't have that feeling of liveliness. A dance party is going to be vibrant, most likely, dancing, full of energy, energetic. Dusty attic, an attic, right, is not going to be vibrant. An abandoned building, of course, it's not impossible, but just the image that you get in an abandoned building, you're going to feel dirty, run down. It's not going to have the vibrant feeling. Art gallery is interesting because it doesn't have to be vibrant. I would say yes, because art tends to be colorful, have colors. But at the same time, and if you think about an art gallery, I think of very calm people walking around, talking quietly. So the atmosphere would not be vibrant at an art gallery. I wouldn't associate the atmosphere with vibrance, but I would say the art gallery is vibrant because it's colorful. An office cubicle, again, an office cubicle could be vibrant. Some people try to spice up their working space, but generally the feeling you get is more dull and gray tones. Festivals are generally vibrant. Muted colors, we use this term in a past lesson. I always like to reintroduce vocabulary words. Usually mute is to mute your microphone. There's no sound. In this case, muted colors in a painting. Again, it's throw you off a little bit. It's a painting, but muted colors means black and white and gray colors. Tropical rainforest. That one's interesting, right? It's not necessarily colorful. It could be colorful, but it might just be dark green and almost not as colorful as you might see in some of these other areas, but it is full of life, right? There's birds, there's insects, there's monkeys, or whatever's going on. So I would say tropical rainforest is vibrant. An old newspaper, probably not right. Overcast sky, I'd say no. Empty parking lot, not really. Flower garden, sure, right? It's colorful. And foggy morning, I had one student say a rainbow. They visualized a rainbow. So, hey, if you visualize a rainbow on a foggy morning, perhaps. But normally I would say no, just the idea of fog, generally, I don't feel like it is vibrant. Deserted alley at night. Again, it's not impossible that they have a string of Christmas lights up there, but generally I'd say no. Sunset, again, most sunsets, or when I think of a sunset, it's going to have a lot of beautiful, vibrant colors. Butterflies, sure. Vibrant. Parade, vibrant, yes. A carnival, also vibrant. Again, if you want to argue with any of those, that's actually great. I always encourage someone to answer differently and express themselves. That's the most important part, really, in my English lessons, is to being able to express yourself, which, of course, you can't do in this, but you can, if you want, you can talk back to the screen by all means. Now, we focused on the vocabulary words in this one of them being a noun, purification, to signify purification. Songkran signifies purification, and put those words, again, purify as a verb here, and right, from to make pure, right? And so white doves, and there's a nice little picture created, is white doves often signify peace and goodwill among cultures. And to maintain a healthy living environment, it's important to regularly purify the air within homes and offices. Again, in both cases, we didn't need to use signifies or purifies. We would say a dove signifies, or it purifies, but it's important to purify, right? Those are both without the change there. And the solar calendar refers to the sun. What about the calendar that relates to the moon? Lunar, the lunar calendar. Luna is a Greek goddess, or perhaps a Roman goddess, and from the Greek goddess, not even that popular one, Ceres or something. I don't know what she is, but we see these words in different forms. So I like to ask, what other things are solar? What other things do you know? Solar, there's some pictures there. The sun rays that get really hot, so they can even disrupt mechanical devices, are solar flares. We have solar panels on the roofs of houses that generate solar power, right? Solar energy, the solar system, right? In all of these cases, the word solar literally means the sun system, all the planets around there. That's what the solar system is. And then we have the solar eclipse, and we just had a solar eclipse on April 8th. I like looking at it, seeing when is the next solar eclipse in your. We're actually going to get one in 2027 in Thailand. I'm going to really work hard to see it. I've never experienced one in my life where it literally goes dark. So that should be a fun experience if you have a lunar eclipse, solar eclipse, when the solar eclipse being when the moon blocks the sun, it crosses paths, and you get darkness, and you have to be in the right place, not just, even it happens every couple years. Many times, maybe no one even experiences it because it's over oceans or something. Some work on pronunciation. I'll go through the pronunciation first, practice those. In green, astrological calculations, deeply intertwined, symbolizing purification. And then we'll read the entire thing. Historically, Songkran was based on the astrological calculations that defined the beginning of the new solar year. It is deeply intertwined with Buddhist traditions, where people visit temples to pray and offer food to monks. One of the festival's most sacred practices involves pouring water over Buddha statues, symbolizing purification and the cleansing of the soul. A lot of little side tracks we can go with this. When I have my lessons, I use some extra supplementary material that's online. I don't really like doing this because I'm posting it. I don't know about copyright rules, and I'm not willing to lose my entire channel for doing something like that. So I asked my students again, my students being from China, I asked them what they know about the Water Sprinkling Festival, which is a festival celebrated in the Yunnan province of China, who have an ethnic minority that also are Theravada Buddhist, and like in Thailand, and they celebrate it during this time. Again, it's a solar calendar, but it's not the Gregorian solar calendar that we use. In China, they use a lunar calendar traditionally, and based on the moon. In Thailand, we do have a lot of holidays that, and even Buddhist holidays that are based on the moon. So there is a lunar calendar. There's a Buddhist lunar calendar and a Buddhist solar calendar that have been adopted. I don't know completely the history, but I know some of the reasoning behind it. A solar calendar is going to be more important for farming and agriculture, to if you want to stay on track. Sometimes the lunar calendar will, the spring is adjusted and it doesn't actually, right, like in Thailand, this kind of marks the beginning of the rainy season, even though it really hasn't started raining yet. We have had a couple sprinkles. The rainy season really is in like September, but we'll start to get rain. We've just come off a long dry season. The next one, culturally, Songkran is a time for family reunions, showing respect to elders, and renewing community ties. The festival holds a significant place in the hearts of Thais, embodying the values of gratitude, unity, and compassion. So I want to ask you if you know what those words mean. Unity, and then a good kind of verb to describe that, to embrace, right? Embracing unity. Which one of these quotes would demonstrate embracing unity? Which one of these quotes would demonstrate expressing gratitude? Which one of these quotes would demonstrate showing compassion? Let's read the first one. We all have unique skills to bring to the table, so let's combine our efforts to make this project successful. And that's going to be embracing unity, right? And thank you for being an incredible teacher and for all the support and encouragement this year. Your classes were truly inspiring. I always make my students read that one and then I say, oh, well, thank you. You're so kind. And that is expressing gratitude. And the final one is, I saw you seemed upset. Is there anything I can do to help you right now? And that is showing compassion, right? Caring. And then I always would like to ask my students, do you have these qualities? So if you do, can you give an example of when you embraced unity, whether it's some team sport or school project or activity where you came together to complete something? Expressing gratitude, have you shown that you appreciate somebody? And showing compassion, did you save a baby bird that fell out of a nest and nurtured it to health? And then, of course, again, this is more specific for my Chinese students. Interestingly, Songkran shares similarities with the water sprinkling festival celebrated by the Dai ethnic minority in Yunnan, China. This connection highlights the shared cultural heritage and festivities across borders, celebrating the end of the old year and the welcoming of the new with water, symbolizing good fortune and prosperity. And I like to kind of talk about fortune and prosperity. They really go together. It's hard to separate them sometimes because generally, I would say, in summary, while both terms can relate to success and good outcomes, prosperity is, do you think it's more wealth or more good luck? It's more wealth. It's more specifically about economic success, thriving conditions, often used in the broader economic or social context. And fortune, on the other hand, is more closely tied to the concept of luck or chance and can refer to any aspect of life where luck plays a role. At the same time, notice in context that sometimes can differ. If we talk about a fortune teller, she's not necessarily going to tell you good luck, but a fortune teller is about the future. To have good fortune is generally luck, but to make a fortune, if we say something like make a fortune, we're talking about money, or to have a fortune. So, but to be fortunate is lucky. So often fortune means luck. There are some contexts where it is referring to wealth, but I would say prosperity is generally always associated with wealth. With wealth, we wouldn't usually say prosper. I mean, you could prosper in delight and joy or something. I mean, you can play around with the word, so don't get stuck to one or the other, but just understand how they are used. If you don't know, just say both of them. I wish you great fortune and prosperity. Then you're going to cover everything. And then I ask what my students know about any of the other ethnic minorities. There are 55 ethnic minorities in China, and there are many ethnic minorities everywhere. And in fact, in Thailand, there are 5 specific ethnic minority groups. This last one, we say Aka, but there is a Chinese group that share a lot of similarities. There's a lot of ethnic minorities in the regions along borders of countries, most obviously because these are people who have lived there for a long time, and perhaps the borders changed, but there's still some identity shared. So some of the ethnic minorities in China also are in Myanmar and Thailand and Laos and Cambodia and uh, Vietnam. Not one ethnic minority in all of those, but there are usually ethnic minorities that share borders across there. And then China being large, far in the east, and some of the you know almost Turkish, and then you have Mongolian and Russian and Korean and all of these different types. I think it's really interesting. I like challenging my students with what they know or what they don't know. And for you, wherever you're from, if you want to think about the ethnic minorities along the borders of your country, or even anywhere in the world, um, it's an interesting concept, and I lead that to the ethnic majority in China, which is 90%, over 90%. To me, it just seemed like how could a country so big, how could so many people identify as one majority? It seems like there'd have to be so many more minorities. So I looked into it a little bit, and I'll do a reading comprehension slash listening comprehension, and we'll dive into it a little bit. So let me read this first. The Han Chinese constitute over 90% of China's population and are the largest ethnic group, not just in China, but in the world. So that's quite interesting, right? Understanding how the Han became such a dominant demographic group involves looking at historical, cultural, and social factors. So the historical background. Um, I've got something in the way here. The term Han originates from the Han Dynasty, 206 BCE to 220 CE, one of China's golden ages, when the culture and political system significantly expanded and solidified. The name Han derives from the Han River, a central area of the dynasty's heartland. Over centuries, the influence of the Han dynasty, including its language, culture, and bureaucratic system, spread throughout much of what is modern-day China. Assimilation and Sinicization. The process known as Sinicization played a crucial role in the formation of the Han identity. This process involved the assimilation of various non-Han ethnic groups through conquest, intermarriage, and cultural integration. Many groups adopted Han customs, language, and governance structures, gradually blending into the Han identity over generations. Cultural and linguistic unity. The Han Chinese share a common written language, which has played a significant role in unifying the group culturally and linguistically, despite the variety of spoken dialects such as Mandarin, Cantonese, Hokkien, and others. The education and civil service examination systems, imperial examinations based on Confucian texts, further cemented a shared scholarly culture among the Han. Now let's get some questions. What does the term Han originate from? Now, there's an aspect of all of these. The answer is the Han Dynasty. That's where the name of the Han people came from. So this happened over 2,000 years ago, or around that time. And that makes more sense why, oh, okay, that's why during that time, there were many ethnic minorities that were assimilated into being the Han Dynasty through intermarriage, through conquest. I'm sure there was a lot of terrible things, as we see anywhere at all times during human history, but overall, that assimilation process through time, became, and especially intermarriage is so easy to just after a few generations, you're going to become part of the larger community. So again, the Han Dynasty is named after the Han River, so there is a relationship there. Um, and the next one is, what was a major factor in the spread of Han culture and political systems? Uh, According to the readings, military conquest. I just said conquest, but it was military conquest, right? Natural disasters wouldn't have any play, or trade with other continents occurred, but wasn't part of the spreading of culture and political systems so much. And I mean, of course, culture does get traded along the Silk Road, but still the Han dynasty was still somewhat localized in more of the eastern China. And technological innovations, again, those are all somewhat true, but military conquest is the correct answer. Sinicization, and I talk about Sina is from a Latin word that meant China. We see Sino-Portuguese architecture or the Sino-Russian War, all of these things. Sino refers to China. And in this case, it is the assimilation of various ethnic groups into the Han culture. And which of the following is not mentioned as a component of the Han identity formation? And it was religious reforms. I'm not saying that's not partly, but what was specifically mentioned was conquest, intermarriage, cultural integration. Those are going to be the most largest impact for sure. And what role did the common written language play among the Han Chinese? And that answer is it helped unify the group culturally and linguistically. Again, there are other true things that led to the decline of other languages, probably true, but that doesn't really answer the question. And discuss how the process of Sinicization might have affected the non-Han groups culturally and socially. And we think about it now, I mean, and now there are 55 other ethnic or ethnic minorities within China, and I mean, these are questions I ask you. Do you want 100% Han? Because you could do it if you assimilated these ethnic minorities in the same way that the ethnic minorities were assimilated. And this is always the question. I mean, this is a question everywhere. I mean, how much, you know, um, is there, I mean, there's something nice about shared communities and joining in, and there is also, even a minority can slightly change the majority in some way. You can bring something to the table. So to be assimilated, there's it's absorbed. It's a great topic of debate about what do we want more diversity? Like, to what extreme, right? I don't think we want to be so diverse that everybody's not able to find these common grounds. I think it's interesting. I'd say we have ethnic minorities in Thailand as well. As I mentioned, I think they're rich. I love to visit ethnic minority groups. They make handicraft, or they you know have some special trade, grow coffee instead of opium, which is true in Thailand, where there used to be opium trade in growing opium fields, and one of the kings burned them down, and taught hey, these guys are farmers, they're great farmers, let's use produce crops and stuff, because they weren't benefiting from the opium trade. So it was much better to grow things like coffee, which grow well in tropical high altitudes. So a lot of discussion here, a lot of just wonderful pathways the discussion can lead. How do you think the common written language influenced the daily life of the Han Chinese, considering the variety of spoken dialects? Again, we can apply these questions really to modern day and just think about how it was then. A lot of similarities, actually, when you think about it. And why might the imperial examinations have been crucial in promoting a shared scholarly culture among the Han? I mean, same thing as now, like some sort of nationalization test, right? I mean, whether it's about loyalty or just understanding or agreements on certain issues, political, spiritual, or whatever. These are, again, topics that can really get deep in discussion. I try to just elicit responses and not go too far on what my opinion is. And can you think of modern examples where a culture or language has spread similarly to how Han culture spread during the Han Dynasty? And I mean, yeah, we can talk about all kinds of things through globalization. It is less centralized in location. Something like English, of course, has spread and become kind of an international language, even for the adversaries of English speaking countries, just simply because it's a means to communicate. And throw this in, there's one adjective, two nouns that can always help you if you know grammar. That can help. Sometimes I do that intentionally, sometimes I don't. Recognize it, fill in the blank. The Han Dynasty was a period of great cultural and political expansion. Sinicization involved the assimilation of non-Han groups adopting new customs and languages, the common written language played a significant role in unifying the Han Chinese. Oh, whoa, I didn't even realize I gave the answer right there, but oh well. Yeah, I should have deleted that. I didn't notice that the whole day. But there it is. It's gone now. And keep it coming here. So today, Songkran is famous worldwide for its exuberant water fights where streets come alive with people of all ages engaging in playful water battles. This modern twist on the traditional practice attracts tourists from around the globe eager to partake in the joyous celebrations. Beyond the fun and frolic, Songkran remains a time to reflect on the past year, express gratitude, and look forward to the future with optimism. And here's my cat. She's extra cuddly today. And I talk a little bit about one of my experiences here, actually, when I first came to Thailand about 12 years ago. And it was during Songkran, and I didn't know about it. I had my passport with me in my pocket, and it got so wet that all of the stamps bled, and I had to go to the US Embassy to get issued a new passport. So one of the questions I asked is, how would you prepare if you came to the Songkran, or the water sprinkling festival in Yunnan province during the same time, celebrating the Buddhist Solar New Year? And often my students would say the water gun, but I say make sure you bring a waterproof bag for your phone and passport and everything. The Ziploc bag just doesn't work; it'll still get wet. And that was the question. If you were to participate in the Songkran's water fights, how would you prepare? What would you look forward to most? Just some other things. Chinese descent in Thailand. Some extra interesting facts. A significant portion of the Thai population is of Chinese descent, with estimates suggesting that approximately 10% to 14% of the population has full or partial Chinese ancestry. This influence is particularly notable in the business and cultural sectors of Thailand, where Chinese immigrants have historically played a significant role. The migration of Chinese people to Thailand has occurred in several waves. Most notably, in the 19th and 20th century, these immigrants and their descendants have integrated into Thai society, often blending their cultural practices with local traditions. And we do have some nice Chinatowns. There's one nice one in Bangkok, but we have one here in Chiang Mai as well, which I don't know, as far as the people that work there, if they have Chinese ancestry or not. It's not necessary that they do, or that they speak Chinese or anything, but you can tell sometimes some of the cultural differences that are present. But again, there is an assimilation aspect, and that is always an interesting part of some of these, like a Chinatown. There's Chinatowns everywhere in the world, but every Chinatown is going to have its own flavor, because it's a different ethnic, and they are usually ethnic minorities themselves. They're maybe not the Han people. There's some of them could be Han Chinese, but they might be in, like in the, I know Hokkien, they might speak that in America and San Francisco. It seemed to be more the Cantonese. You know, even the words we use. I mean, like me growing up talking about fortune cookies. Every Chinese restaurant I ate at had a fortune cookie. I asked my Chinese students; they have no idea what a fortune cookie is. They've never seen it. They don't know what wonton or dim sum. Those are all Cantonese terminology and phrases and things. So it's really interesting to look at how Chinatowns are a reflection of maybe an ethnic minority in China, and then so it's just interesting, really interesting. So, and this generated many topics to discuss. Let's talk about ethnic self-perception. Many Thais with Chinese ancestry identify themselves as Thai, reflecting a high degree of cultural integration. This integration has been facilitated by intermarriage and the adoption of Thai language and customs. And whoa, look at that. I just got this little bug. This is called Mei Inun in Thai. I don't know what it is. Probably some sort of beetle in English, but it just flew in my window because I got my window open. And those guys are all over the place during this time of year. However, there are also communities in Thailand where people strongly preserve their Chinese identity, especially around cultural festivals like Chinese New Year and the Vegetarian Festival. The Vegetarian Festival, which is in Phuket, that's again like a Taoist sect, again an ethnic minority of China. So they preserve their Chinese identity, but it's interesting that the Chinese identity that they preserve is not one that is. It might have actually be easier to preserve it here than within China because they're an ethnic minority anyway. It's like they're either going to be an ethnic minority in China or an ethnic minority in Thailand, and so that's I think interesting. All of these are really interesting topics to discuss. Regarding other regional ancestries, Thailand is home to a diverse array of ethnic groups, including Khmer, Malay, Mon, and various hill tribes, each contributing to the rich tapestry of Thai national identity. The majority of Thais see themselves primarily as Thai, emphasizing a national identity that transcends individual ethnic background. This perspective is supported by the Thai government's promotion of a unified Thai identity, although regional and ethnic distinctions still play a role in everyday life. All right, and this is interesting for me. My son, of course, is 100% Thai citizen. He's half American, but then it's like I've got these identities, Lebanese, Italian, English, Irish, German, maybe on my mom's side, Lebanese, Italian on my father's side. But I'm American when I come here. It's really just American. It's hard to, white, American, whatever, some Middle Eastern or Mediterranean. I generally think of myself as North European and Mediterranean, Italian and Italy and Lebanon being on the Mediterranean Sea, and then the English, Irish, German kind of northern uh, uh, Northern European, something, I could do that, but then, the further I go away from that now, it's really just like you could say American, but what does that really mean to say half American, half Thai? And really he's just gonna become, and I think it's beautiful. I think who knows, he might grow up and marry somebody completely different. But if he stays in Thailand, marries Thai, then I think whatever identity that I had, it will get lost in each generation. But at the same time, I mean, it does transcend. So I don't know. I think it's beautiful no matter how you look at it. I don't really have so much issues. I'm not privileged with a like some sort of identity that I know a lot of people hold on to. I think that actually causes a lot of problems in the world when people feel they have a right to some sort of preservation, and not all of us are really have something that I, where's my home? None of the countries that my blood was originally from really would welcome me back, but you're not welcome in your own country sometimes because you're supposedly a settler or whatever. So it's like sometimes it's good to just get out and assimilate into a new culture, and that's certainly what I did, and I enjoy it. How do ethnic minorities balance maintaining their heritage with integrating into a broader national culture? This is very interesting for anybody living abroad. Um, again, am I an ethnic minority? I guess technically I would be, but I'm not even Thai, so really I'm not even an ethnic minority. I'm like an expat or a foreigner, or a guest. Myself, I'll never really be able to assimilate as a Thai, but after one generation, my son is 100% Thai. He'll still always be looked at kind of as some people might not consider him full Thai just because he's he's half something else by blood. Again, just interesting topics and things to discuss. I think it's really important. Some people get offended over things, and I just think that that's terrible thing to do. You just gotta just talk about it. So I try to stimulate this conversation because anybody who's learning English as a second language or third or fourth language as a new language has something to say about this, right? Like, they're either living abroad or they're trying to communicate with foreigners of some sort, or interesting. Everyone has a story, and I think it's yeah, just embrace what you have. I mean, some people have an identity that they have, some people don't, and I don't think we should hold on to anything so strong that we're not able to embrace what it means to be human. So all of these questions, I have several questions that can generate some questions. What are social and economic impacts of migration? This one's really important during this time. Of course, the the Myanmar civil war basically has been going on after the military coup 3 years ago. Before Russia invaded Ukraine, I was really into this, and that kind of just stole the glory, of all the humanitarian issues. And then now we've got Israel and Gaza, but it's like it's definitely not given enough. What's going on in and has been going on in Myanmar, I think, is just, it's horrific on so many levels. So the military who took over the government, and then rebel forces, which is basically groups of ethnic minorities which had fought before, and they kind of came together to, fight this military government that took over. And even though they were superior in aircraft and tanks and weapons, the rebel fighters are beating them, and they basically just took over another. They just rush some of these military posts and just take them over with much less firepower, but just more people, and a lot of them just willing to die. And there's been a lot of deaths, a lot of terrible deaths. Villages destroyed by these helicopters and airplanes, because the military coup obviously has the artillery to just wipe out places. But they're not. You want to talk about indiscriminate? I'd say that's even more indiscriminate than anything we see in Gaza. This is it's terrible stuff that's going on, and it's always going on. It's happening in Africa. uh, uh, we might be entering, or we could easily be in World War III already, and we only really know looking back. So I like this. I like being an English teacher, because there usually are so many other cultures. I love to hear other people's perspective on cultures, and really just try to find a way. Once we start playing the blame game, it can get ugly and disgusting. But I would say, for the most part, people, we're not part of it, and that's what this last question is talking about. Regardless of the rebel fighter, the military coup, or whatever, it's just how many people they just want to, they don't want to be involved in that. It's like Gaza. It's like they don't want to be there. There's so many people that don't want to be there. There's people in Ukraine, but some of them are like, oh, this is their home. They have to live there. I can understand that this is my home where I live, but where, uh, well, if you can go. So, anyways, this question was about Myanmar. We've got refugees right there. I'm asking my Chinese students, what do we do about that? There's a lot of refugees that want to come into Thailand. Thailand said they're willing to take 100,000 refugees, but how do we vet them? How do we know if they they're militants, maybe trying to flee? Are they, are they going to work? Are they going to be criminals? What are they going to do? How are they going to be supported? They obviously need some sort of support network. Who's going to pay for that? These are all real questions that any country needs to ask about. And is it, there's going to be pros and cons, to it. And how do we make it so it can be a win-win situation for everybody? I like to hear your thoughts. I like to hear everyone's thoughts. That's going to wrap it up for today. Have a good one. Bye bye.